Welcome back, everybody, to this week's YouTube series here at Noteful. My name is Matthew, and I'm a part of Noteful, and we are tutors that teach the TOEFL. If you've seen our videos, we welcome you back. If you haven't, we welcome you. We want you to become one of our students so we can help you become successful with the TOEFL. Take it once, never take it again, and then you can move on with your dream. If you're having trouble with the speaking section, please look at the video that Lauren did, another master instructor here at Noteful, last week. She did a video comparing a 24 to a 26, which for most of you is a really big deal, and it's very, very frustrating to be stuck at that 24. And you want to break that barrier and get that 26. So please take a look at that video. I highly recommend it. It's very, very enlightening and very helpful. This week, we're going to be doing the TOEFL writing section. A lot of students are writing in saying, I want to do it this way, write 3 body paragraphs. I want to write more in my introduction or more in my conclusion. We're going to dispel all of those myths. There are no shortcuts. We have to focus on the basics. There is no workaround against what we really need to do in order to develop a solid body paragraph. We must have clear structure, we must have good content, and we must focus on the depth of our details and the connection. And there's no way around that to getting a very high score. It's actually easy after a while, but like any skill, it's going to take practice, and you have to do it over and over again, regardless of how uncomfortable you feel and regardless of what your timeline is. We don't want to compromise your score, your time, and especially your finances by rushing into the TOEFL when we're not really ready for it. So it's very important to self-assess, be extremely honest with yourself if you're ready or not. I know there's tight deadlines. I know it's a little bit stressful. There's a lot of pressure, but time and patience and practicing is extremely important to being able to get a good score. And I'm emphasizing this because I know that when we feel anxious and pressure and we want to be able to get our score right away, we don't necessarily listen to the advice of others. And myself included, as well as everybody here at Noteful, we're all human. It's just the way things are. But we're telling you, we teach thousands and thousands of students. We see thousands and thousands of reviews, and we hear lots of different stories about how students are graded on the TOEFL. So we hope that you get a lot out of this video, you learn something, and if you have any questions, stay tuned at the end. We'll be able to explain everything to you about submitting your work, succeeding on the TOEFL, or anything else that you might have questions about. We're going to be looking at this question here. It's about being in university. If you attend a university, would you rather live with your parents, in a dorm, or in an apartment within the community? It's 3 options. You only have to choose one. Don't worry about the others. We're not going to be surprised because it's basically the same question each time for the independent tasks, just variations. So don't get surprised by the wording. They're basically asking you the same thing about how we're going to structure our content and develop them. So let's take a look at this week's submission, how we're going to look at developing our body paragraphs and what the TOEFL graders are looking for, which is really important for us to succeed. So when we know what they're looking for, we do that, and then we're able to get our score. So let's take a look. All right, so what we have here is just a basic diagram of 2 components of what the TOEFL graders are looking for. Remember, there's 2 graders. One's a computer, one is a human. The computer is grading the word count, the grammar, and all of the points that are typical of essays that are really important. You know, spelling and structure and all of the components of subject, verb, and object and all of that. So the human grader is obviously going to look at that and look at that assessment, and then they're going to look at the content. They're going to look at the clarity and the smoothness. Does it come together well? So the human grader is obviously ultimately the one giving you the grade. So I want you to be aware of what you are writing, and we can't trick the TOEFL grader into giving us a good score. They know exactly what they're looking for. If you have too much of an introduction or conclusion, it's irrelevant. That's going to take away too much time, it's going to take up too much energy, and they're going to directly look at your body paragraphs. They may or may not even read your introduction. It's important to include it because it's a formal academic essay. That's the style we're going for. You do want to present your basic thesis in a very simple way and a basic conclusion, again, in a simple way, because there's no sense in really expanding that. It's basically just a summary of what you're trying to say. The heart of our score and what we want to say is in those body paragraphs. First thing, content. Think about what you want to write before you write. You're going to feel anxious, you're going to feel stressed, uncomfortable, unsure. You're going to feel like there's a wall and an obstacle in front of you and that you don't know what to say. What I want you to do is to be comfortable with being uncomfortable. You must take the time to think about what you want to say. So, for example, if we take this question and I said, I want to live in an apartment in a community because it makes me feel more responsible. And then I give an example about paying my bills. And then I ultimately connect it by saying, I learned how to live on my own. And then when I graduated, I was able to live on my own very easily. And it wasn't so shocking. And I was very responsible. It's connected. That would give me a 5 out of 5 for content. Now, if we have extensive general content in our introduction that doesn't really mean anything, and then a short example, we're probably going to get a fair score. We can't split the paragraph between very general content and then very short detailed content because it's not going to really blend very well. We're not going to get to the point very quickly. And then for the last part, if we have multiple examples in one paragraph, we lose the essence of what we're trying to say. We lose what we're trying to convey to the TOEFL grader, who, by the way, doesn't know you, doesn't know anything about you, and can only assess you by these 4 paragraphs. So these are very important points that we want to bring up. We want to build our ideas together. We want to link them together. So what you're looking for here is taking your ideas, you're thinking about them. I want to be responsible. I want to pay my bills. And I use an example about paying my bills to avoid late fees, to avoid any debt. And then I learn how to be responsible. I learn how to live on my own. And I build upon that with details and I make it clear. I want to stick with one idea because if I'm scattered, the TOEFL grader is going to scan, go with paying my bills, then I'm going to go start with talking about cooking or studying and talking about my roommates. We're trying to build an essay that makes sense and is clear and is smooth and reads easily. If it doesn't read easily and if it's all over the place, it's automatically fair to poor, and then we get a lower score because we lose what we're trying to say. We lose the meaning of our thoughts and our ideas because it wasn't properly outlined, and that is critical. I know 3 minutes doesn't seem like a lot, but the more you practice at home before you get to the test, if you take 10 to 20 minutes a day to really start thinking about how you're structuring your essay, that's what's going to help you to expand the ideas very easily, and 3 minutes will become like a lot of time. It won't seem like it's filled with pressure and anxiety and stress because you'll just automatically come up with an example because you've done it many, many times before. Clarity, very important. Use appropriate vocabulary. If you can use sophisticated vocabulary, great. If you can use simple vocabulary, perfect. It really doesn't matter. What does matter is, are you using it appropriately? Are you using it in a way that makes sense? Is expanding your content? Because the TOEFL grader is really not impressed by vocabulary. They want to see it properly used, and they want to see it in a way that is linking your ideas together and is expanding your clarity. If you don't have clear subject, verb, object sentences, we're not able to really grasp the idea of what you're trying to say. It won't make sense to us. And the problem here is the TOEFL grader is not filling in the content for you. If you're missing an object, if you're missing a verb, they're not going to fill that in for you. Number one, that's not their job. And number two, we want to make sure that we express to them, our audience, exactly what we want to say, because they don't know anything. And that's the point of the reader. We want to be able to receive, and you're supposed to be giving them the information to do so, to understand where you're coming from, what your topic is, and how you're developing it. Because they're not going to fill that in, that's going to automatically lower our score. So we want to, again, link back to content. Think about what you want to write first. Really expand it in your mind. Try to think about how you're going to outline it from beginning, middle, to end. Because if we don't, we're just going to start going from pay my bills to studying, to cooking, and I'm going to go way off track. My time is going to be up, and then it's going to be a really stressful, anxiety-filled experience, which is something we don't want to happen for you. So what I want you to practice is focusing on what they want to see. They want to see developed content. They want to see it linked together. They want to see appropriate vocabulary use, and they want to see also how we are going to use the content in clear, simple subject, verb, object sentences. If you have an idea in your head and you know how you want to explain it, if I asked you, please explain it to me in the most simple way possible, as if I was 10 years old. And if you were able to, and if that's different than what you wrote, you want to use what you wrote to me, what you said to me rather, because that is what's really in your mind. What's clear in your mind, you want to write it down on the actual essay, because that is what's going to be the best essay that you can make. Because if we're trying hard, if we think of an idea and try to translate it and paraphrase it and think about it in a more sophisticated way, thinking that the TOEFL grader probably wants something different, we get a lower score because we lose ourselves in the meaning of what we're trying to say. And that's going to be an important point that we want to demonstrate to the TOEFL grader, is that we do know what we want to say and we do know how we want to link it together. And I want to show you exactly how to do that. So I want you to take a look at this essay that we have here. And I want you to see the connections that we're looking at. So we have 3 parts: the beginning, the middle, and the end. And I want you to take a look at the beginning, where we see the reason and how we expand it. It's a little bit longer than I would like to see, and as we discussed. So there is the reason, it is built upon, but it's very well connected. I would say that we can shorten it a little bit. However, even if it's a little bit longer, it's still very well connected. It's very clear, and the sentences are really good, grammatically speaking. We're transitioning into the second part. Now we're building the background information about the example. This is great. Not only are we building the background information, everything that was said in the previous 2 sentences are exactly what's in this sentence. And that is the major connection that you need to get a 5 out of 5 for content. So that's building upon your score and helping you. The one thing that I want to look at here is, and I want to expand, will be the idea about how the roommate helped. And how is it really important to be in a dorm? Yes, we build a community. We can live together and help each other. That's perfect. Again, it's linking right back to the introduction, so there's no issue there. It's that middle part that I'm a little bit concerned about. Even though it's a great essay, it still would be fair to moderately fair, only because it's not really expanded. And when we say expand, all we're talking about is literally a couple of sentences. All you have to do is ask yourself the questions: who, what, where, when, and why. And when you expand those details, when you ask yourself as if you're the one interviewing yourself, that is when you get the details. That is when you know you're hitting all the major points. So we're talking about here, somebody lived next to the student and he had difficulties trying to pass the exam. So how did this person help the student? We want to know that, because it kind of jumps from one point to the next in a little bit of a general fashion, which is pretty much the hallmark of getting a fair score. However, what saves the essay is that connection in the clear sentences and the basic foundation of the content. Yes, it can be expanded, but we're not looking for a 30 out of 30 for the most part. Most students are looking for between a 24 and 26, maybe even a 23. So this would be able and enable the student to get between a 23 and 25, because the content is there and the TOEFL grader is going to find it hard to mark down for it. Yes, it is a little bit general. It can be expanded, but it's still on the upper range of what we're looking for and what the TOEFL grader is looking for after the grammar, after the word count. They want to look for those major points, which are demonstrated very clearly here. So when you use these types of essays and these examples and these references, this is how you want to measure and assess yourself. Rather than feeling like you're doing well or thinking like you're doing well, we have a certain criteria that we're following, and that we have to be completely honest with ourselves when we're looking at our own essay. And when you build your own skills of assessment, you build your own skills about how to write well. Because when you can assess yourself well, that means you're going to be able to understand how to improve on your own, as well as with us as we take you through the process. So I hope this helps. What I want to do now is explain to you what's going to be happening next week and the following year with the forum, and what has happened with the forum in this past year. So if you want to find out exactly how you're going to submit your work to us for review, just stay tuned. We're going to tell you exactly how. First, we want to just thank everybody for all of your hard work this year in 2014. We really appreciate every single person's contribution and effort in creating speaking and writing tasks and keeping the forum alive. It's really fantastic each week to listen and read and to really review all of your work. Obviously, we can't review everybody's, but we do read and listen to everybody's, and we really appreciate that. We hope that in 2015, we're able to help all of you new students to succeed on the TOEFL as well, so you can be another success story that we put on our site here at noteful.com. If you want to have your work reviewed here on YouTube, just click the link below, All you have to do is set up a free account. You can submit your work there for each week when we submit new questions, and then you'll be able to work on that for the speaking and the writing task. Next week, there will not be a video, but do stay tuned for the following week when we do come back from our winter vacation, and then we start the new year off strong, and we'll be able to help you succeed in 2015. So as always, good luck everybody, and we hope to hear from you very soon.